boat race is a challenge steeped in tradition, but for the competitors, only about the day. Different faces and differing characters for this year's 148th contest between Oxford and Cambridge. From just upstream of Putney Bridge here, it's a race of 4¼ miles to Mortlake, just downstream from Chiswick Bridge. Around 3 bends of the River Thames, the 2 to the right, supposedly equaling the 1 to the left. Sunny Easter Saturday, good conditions on the water. And let's just have a final check. The Middlesex station chosen by Cambridge. Sam Brooks, the American in their side in the American 8 last year. Lucas Hurst, Stuart Welsh, who won a silver medal in the Olympic 8 behind the GB 8 in Sydney, and Rick Dunn, a double world champion. The younger crew from Oxford on the Surrey station with experience from the first Dutchman, Hedit Jan Ethenkamp, the 2 Americans, Dan Perkins and Luke McGee, was 4th in the US 8 in the last World Championships, McGee, and then the survivors from last year, Ben Birch, the president, 3rd boat race, he was once in ISIS as well, and Matt Smith, as we heard earlier, the youngest oarsman to win the university boat race. Their Cox, Pete Hackworth in ISIS last year.
Attention, go!
She had her arm up, but the umpire said, attention, go, and away we go. Cambridge nearer the camera, Oxford on the far side, on the Surrey side.
And certainly Cambridge had a very dirty first stroke on their bow side, which won't have helped them. They're very dependent on a fast start, and it looks to me as though Oxford got away much cleaner in the first few strokes.
And there's absolutely no danger of them clashing at the moment. Huge body of water between them. Both Coxes seem to be choosing completely different lines, one to the other. So there's no danger of, well, at the moment, last year's event, of that clash happening again.
Well, both being at St Paul's School, both have great experience of this river. Both believe they know where the best water is, but Oxford with a clear advantage. Of course, it's the bow side of Cambridge causing a problem. It's the bowman last year, you'll recall, who lost his blade. But Oxford, you have to say, looking very smooth. They're very comfortable at the start here. Understandably so, it makes such a difference when you see yourself in the lead. It'll work for Rick Dunn to do.
They'll certainly be very happy approaching the first Fulham bend with a 3rd length lead, because that's more or less the maximum that Cambridge can affect to get out of them. But Cambridge at the moment are struggling. I mean, they're nearly 2/3, 3/4 of a length down. Off the start, Cambridge rated 51, which is where they'd been before, but they were not getting propulsion from the boat at that speed. And if anything, Oxford are moving away from them.
Coming up, Crabtree Reach.
And Cambridge, keep on that line.
And the first time at the mile post, 3:38 for Cambridge. The record is 3:31 to the mile post.
So I don't think we'll see records today, because you need a helpful breeze to achieve that, as well as a good current. But Cambridge will try and press Oxford as far over to the Surrey bend as they can at this point. They really want to come towards Harrods, which is the next big landmark, at least 3/4 of a length up, because they're going to then face a 1-length deficit as they go round the big Surrey bend.
Key point for the Oxford boat here, Matt.
Well, they're in a good position. I mean, they just weren't. They're in a great position 2 minutes ago, half a length or even 3/4 of a length up. Now that advantage is gone, but the big thing in their favour that's still to come is the Surrey bend. They've really got to hang on in here, keep it within half a length, and use the bend just as Cambridge used their bend. But it looks pretty ominous. Cambridge seem to be holding their speed quite comfortably out in front.
They do, but they're pushing. Now they're pulling apart, and that of course means rudder, and rudder is brakes. It slows the boat down. They certainly pull them apart, but Cambridge are holding on to about, what, 1/2 to 2/3 of a length, I think, about this stage. It's not much more than half.
That's the Harrods Depository. We just passed the expensive Harrods Village on the Surrey side. Just remind you, as you look at that, it's Cambridge on the Middlesex to the right, Oxford on the Surrey to the left.
Oxford, I think, beginning to make a move now. They're putting pressure on. This is the classic place for pressure to be applied, because the big significant advantage to the Surrey Bend is between here, really, and St Paul's, perhaps a minute beyond the Hammersmith Bridge.
There is Hammersmith Bridge, and the crown of the bend. As you said, Chris, that's where the advantage is greatest, and they will pass St Paul's School.
I think now the pressure is going to turn back on Cambridge, and Cambridge have got to survive the next 3 minutes. They've got to try and stay as close to level as they can as they come around the next bend.
Pete Hackworth calling for a push here, screaming at his crew. And they are close together and close in terms of battling for the leadership.
And Oxford move on the bend.
Still the advantage with Cambridge, who have to hang on around this bend. If they can keep that advantage, then they will do what ISIS did in the race that ISIS just won. What about the length of stroke? Matt Smith still holding Oxford well, Matt?
No, I think both stroke men are doing a good job. I remember when we raced in our club boat, we raced against Oxford and put them into this kind of position. We put them half or 3/4 of a length down, and they were really, really tenacious. They hung right in there. Their rhythm seemed fairly durable, but the problem is they don't seem to have enough speed to get ahead. They're on the inside of the bend here. I would, from the Oxford camp, I'd like to see them closing up and taking the lead here. I mean, time's beginning to run out for their corner. If they're going to win this race, we'd want them up and clear by Barnes Bridge, and on this form, they don't look to be able to do that. Rick Dunn there at stroke, he's a world champion stroke man, and he's doing a tremendous job for them, keeping them ahead. And as you say, I'm sure the balance of power is shifting in the race now. That you can see on the map there that the advantage is about to run out for Oxford, and they need to seize this chance if they're going to win. And for Cambridge, they know that from Barnes Bridge home, it's there on the inside.
Saw the flag go down there. The experience in the Cambridge crew of 6 internationals as opposed to 3 from Oxford, and the more experience in terms of age as well. It's a test for what Steve Royle calls his young lions of Oxford. Oxford have had a reputation for pugnacity and tenacity. They're needing both at the moment while still maintaining a rhythm to compete.
Absolutely. I mentioned it before. They were absolutely brilliant in the race against Leander 2 weeks ago, and it's the same qualities that they're showing here. The odds are stacked against them now. They're down. There's only a corner to Cambridge's favour from here on in, and yet Oxford show no sign of wanting to give up this race to Cambridge.
At the moment, Oxford are overrating Cambridge. They're taking 3 or 4 strokes a minute more. They're really not going to be prepared to give up. Now, one of the challenges here, the umpire's got to get these 2 crews through, but the centre arch really level. Now, this hasn't been seen for a long time, and it's a very difficult bridge to steer because the bridge is offset. It's an angle across the river.
And it's a very narrow span in the middle. You can see the 2 buttresses there. There's not a lot of room for the 2 boats to get through.
And my impression is that Oxford have really closed up. There's not much between them at the moment.
Well, just as Cambridge rode brilliantly round the outside of the Surrey Bend, Oxford are rowing brilliantly on the outside of the beginning of this last Middlesex Bend.
And the times at Barnes Bridge.
All those hours of training and all those hours in the gym, and now it comes down to a 3-minute sprint to Chiswick Bridge. And
look at Cambridge. There's some real trouble on stroke side there. There's some blades waving around there. I don't think they look at all good there. They don't look great to me. I think, look at the 4 blade there. Look at 4. It's not good. That's on the left-hand side. The 2nd blade in the front. It's not going in fairly.
4-man is Sebastian Meyer, the sculler, who's had to adopt to a different discipline.
It's still here for the grabs, there's no doubt about that. Cambridge have been labouring at 32-33. I'm not sure they can find much of a change of pace. This is really the end of their bend now, and from here on inwards it's more or less a straight sprint.
And it's one of the great races of all time here. There have been stories in the past of a member of the crew, as it were, in quotes, dying because of the demands of the race. Just look how close this is, and Oxford may well be inching in front. Round the outside on the Surrey Bend.
Absolutely superb effort from both crews. You just cannot imagine how tired they are now. They've trained for 6 months for this, and it's gone all the way. It's an absolutely brilliant race, and to have it come down to what it's going to be, a third of a length between them, is true testament to both these crews.
Yeah, both these crews were very confident going into this race. They both believed in their ability, and it still could go any way here. They're almost on top of each other again, but the Cambridge, I think, are really struggling.
He's very nearly stopped.
Less than 250 yards to go, and the 7 oarsmen almost of Cambridge just trying to hang on to the advantage, but Oxford are coming through. Oxford are in the lead as they come towards the finishing line. The flotilla following. Oxford are going to win the boat race, and they get the victory of 2002. What happened in the Cambridge boat, what a magnificent row by Oxford. It's historic again, as it was 50 years ago.
So Cambridge, with their foreman in a desperate way, lose from a winning position. Oxford magnificently win the Aberdeen Asset Management Trophy from a losing position, with Matt Smith, their stroke, emulating the feat of Christopher Davidge back in 1952.
The guys just always rowed every stroke like a winning crew, and even when they were down and getting rowed down around the outside of the bend, you know, we'd get a bit kind of, oh, here we go, might be another one of those. But every time I looked at the guys, they looked like they were rowing like winners, and eventually, I guess it paid off.
When we started the last Barnes Bend, that was when we realised this was going to be a tough one, and we were in for the epic race, and that's what it turned out to be.
They were just getting away from us around the outside of the Surrey Bend, and then we drew back on the straight, and we just started moving on them. I couldn't believe it, and then Ben just yelled, "We can win this!" And from there, it was just on and on and on and relentless. About 10 strokes to go, they broke, and I was just elation.
We had a phenomenal row right through to sort of just before the bandstand. I don't know what happened. Someone said that we kind of the rhythm broke down and it didn't quite work. I don't know exactly what happened. I'm quite keen to look at the videotape at the end of the day, but to lose by that much, you know, is nothing. You know, it's just a bad day. You know.
We just had such belief all year that we can come from many positions to do it. We nearly rode Leander down in a fixture around Surrey, which is, if anything, a bigger bend. So we had tremendous belief in each and every person in the boat, and it came through.